Whoa, welcome to the Sober Heathen podcast, the number one produced podcast out of this house. There is no podcast that is better than this one, gets more ratings than this one. It is the Sober Heathen podcast in this house, in this city. Number one, believe it or not. Yeah, I did the poll work, and the two people in this house right now both agree that this is the best podcast produced out of this house. So I'll be accepting that award later next week. But anyway, thank you for joining the Sober Heathen podcast. I am the Sober Heathen. Just kind of another impromptu, as they almost all seem to be, podcast. I get fired up about something, and then I hit the live button, and then all of a sudden things kind of change. My attitude changed a little bit. Yeah, number one. That's right, Lindsay. Number one podcast out of this house. Such an honor. Thank you for your recognition. I'll do a little one of these, little Roman Reigns reference to WWE. Speaking of WWE, my good buddy and I, Pug, are going to start a podcast where we will be discussing sports and sports entertainment, collectibles, and other things. We're going to call that, we'll release everything here when we're both ready to, but I'm looking forward to doing that podcast with him. Change it up a little bit, maybe get another banner to drop behind me so you can see that logo too. It's pretty sweet. Before jumping into, also I would like to thank Lonnie H, for this awesome intro. He also supplied the intro music for the podcast I'll be doing with my friend. So Lonnie does good work, man. Appreciate you, my friend. I could listen to this podcast and intro music on repeat, probably for way more time than would be healthy for me to admit. But anyway, look, I've been posting some things on X. Some people will take it as instigating, and there's probably a little bit of instigation in there. And it's only because I feel strongly about these things. It's not because I want to be a dick. I'll start with saying I don't give a shit how you recover. I don't give a shit how you stay sober. If you are doing that, I'm proud of you. However you're doing that. Like, the ways that you do it don't need to be known to me unless you want them to. But if you're able to not drink or drug or however you want to phrase that on a daily basis and your life is constantly improving, you're winning, and I'm happy for you. Excuse me. That's the bottom line when it comes to everything that I post. And the reason why I post some things that I do is because there are people out there that do give a shit how you recover, and they will tell you that you are not doing it right. Even if you're living the best life that you lived in years, they'll tell you that you're not doing it right. I posted a couple times that I no longer refer to myself as an alcoholic, and 95% or more of the people on X and social media are like, awesome, so happy for you. And then even part of some of those people are like, well, I disagree that you're not. Once you are, you always are, but hey, whatever's working for you, man, I support you. I include those people also in the 95%, because while they might disagree with what I'm saying, they still support my sobriety and recovery, and that's all that matters at the end of the day, what your sobriety and recovery looks like. I kind of want to read you and I know it goes dark when I switch screens here. This is what I posted most recently on X, and we can go through some of the responses. Saying there is only one way to get sober is a lie. Even saying there is only one program is a lie. By talking this way, you could be depriving someone of a chance at freedom. Their freedom. What that freedom looks like only matters to the individual, not the collective. I spent too much time thinking I was more of a problem because I couldn't believe or think like others did. Turns out, I did not have to think that way to get freedom or get the freedom that I deserve. You're sober? You are sober? You are in recovery? You have freedom from addiction? I support you no matter what path you took. So, kind of to break this down a little bit of what I'm talking about, saying that there's only one way to get sober is a lie. Even saying there's only one program is a lie. By talking this way, you could be depriving somebody of a chance of freedom. So, when I started my recovery journey, which was before I went into the 3 treatments in 2022, all appearances were that AA was the only way to do it. And so I found myself diving in, as a lot of addicts do, alcoholics and addicts do, diving in head first and getting kind of obsessed with it. But the problem was, I thought that that was the only way. I look at all these other people that drank like I did, that thought like I did, that behaved like I did, that lost people like I did, lost jobs like I did. That's the draw of AA, in my opinion. The draw of AA is, at least for me, the draw for AA was, okay, I have all these family and friends that don't drink and act like I do when I'm drinking. And these people in AA, they get me. They understand. And this is nice because my other friends just don't understand. They try to. God love them, if you believe in that kind of stuff. But I love them, and I appreciate their willingness to try to understand. That wasn't a problem either. But walking into a group of people that get what you're doing and why you're doing it, or doing it with no real good reason to do it, that was very refreshing, and it's very appealing. But the problem is, I didn't know about Smart Recovery. I didn't know about Refuge Recovery. I didn't know about Peer 360, which is in this area. I didn't know about all these other things that I could try. I thought, well, the doctors say AA, the court systems say AA, the cops, when they arrest you, they say AA. The first words out of everybody's mouth is AA. And I didn't realize there were other successful things out there, because this book that was written, here's one of mine, in 39, a lot has changed. And we've learned a lot more. And so by thinking that AA is the only way and stating that it's the only way, I feel like you're depriving people of a chance to learn something else. That's how I feel. I know, and I'll say this again right off the go. I know AA has helped a tremendous amount of people. And I know it continues to help a tremendous amount of people. And it will continue to help a tremendous amount of people. But some of these people, if your AA experiences is doing it for the rest of your life and that works for you and that's what keeps you sober and happy, fine. But don't expect that to be somebody else's. I got to go to 5 to 7 meetings a day. I have to call my sponsor 3, 4, 5 times a day. Every big decision goes through my sponsor first. Don't expect that to be what other people do, because I have found on X, there's a loud enough amount of people. I use the word loud, not an amount. A loud enough people that come in here and start poo-pooing on these other things just because they know in their heart and mind that the way they did it is the only way to do it, and they are wrong. So the next line in my post is their freedom. Freedom looks different to everybody. Okay, I have had people come into the office that were stuck on heroin or cocaine, and they gave that shit up, and they drink normally on the weekends. You would probably be shocked at how many people would react negatively to that. Alcohol doesn't seem to be their Achilles heel. It was the other stuff. Notice I didn't use the words hard drugs there, because they all suck. And if you really look at it, alcohol is probably one of the worst ones that you can do on you, do for yourself. But anyway, their freedom is their freedom. You look at, I just had Thrive Recovery on not too long ago. These people are taking naltrexone, and they're either learning to drink moderately or they eventually give it up. That is their freedom. That is their life. And that's all that matters. They are in recovery because it is their recovery. So going down to the next one, I spent too much time thinking I was more of a problem because I couldn't believe or think like others did. This is a reference to AA. As I've mentioned before, I don't believe in a God. All right. I hate using the word atheist because people will just shut down immediately. They think, oh my God, devil worshiper, which is ironic because if you don't believe in God, then you're not going to believe in the devil. I digress. I don't believe in the existence of a God, and that's okay. I've had plenty of people on the podcast, and I have plenty of friends that do believe there is one, and there is no conflict whatsoever. What I'm talking about, it was hard for me to buy into the AA thing because it does reference a higher power and God a lot. I thought that there was, in the beginning, I eventually got to a point where I faked it, where I found Odin and I found the Norse mythology, and I thought, man, this is the best one that I've come across out of all of them. I'm going to dive in to the Norse mythos. I bought the Poetic Edda. I read through that. I listened to a lot of interviews and a lot of talks about it, and I read as much material as I could about it, and I dove in. I learned Elder Futhark, and by doing that, it made me think that I was doing what I was supposed to do, but it was all a lie. And so I thought going through AA, because I couldn't think like these people did, and when I said the things that they were saying, it didn't feel true in my heart. And that made me think that there was more of a problem. And that's what I am terrified about, is that when people get on and they want to talk about AA as the only way or the best way, and why shouldn't they? Why shouldn't they? Because as I mentioned a few minutes ago, the court system wants to shove everybody into AA. It's getting a little bit better where they just say you need to go to a group that will count. If you go to a group that they don't count, well, then you're screwed. But they want you to go to X amount of AA. They want you to go to treatments, and all the treatments can't get funding unless they are AA based, because that's how the government has set it up. And I shouldn't say all of them, but most of them. It's really hard to get funding if you're not AA based, because that is what everybody says is the way to do it. And it's just wrong. So that's where I have been at and commenting about on X. I would love to hear any comments or feedback. This guy says, love you, man. This is so good to hear. Thank you. Your timeline puts people at ease on their journey. I don't know if it does that or not. It's really nice of this person to say. But what I do know is I get far more positive feedback than I get negative. But the negative people just seem to be so damn loud. It is insane how loud some of these people can be. So I want to talk real quickly before I address any questions that are in the comments right now. This next post that I posted recently that got a lot of play as well. If a smoker quits smoking for 6 months, do they continue to check the box yes on do you smoke? So they go into the doctor's office, do you smoke? No. So I haven't smoked in 6 months. Okay. I go into the doctor's office, do you drink? No. Will I tell the doctor that I drank very hard for 15 to 20 years? Yes. Continuing on. If they stop and pick up another cigarette, are they likely to go back to smoking the way they used to? Well, probably. I mean, if you're smoking a pack or more a day and you quit for 6 months and you go back and have a cigarette, there's a good chance that you might trickle into that same thing. Not always, because everybody's different, but there's a good chance of that, right? Continuing on, yet we are okay with them saying I am not a smoker after a time of not smoking. I am no longer a smoker. I smoked a pack and a half a day for 10 years. I quit a year ago. I am no longer a smoker. And that is totally fine. Bravo. Well done. Everybody gets all kinds of positive feedback for that. In the recovery community, if I quit drinking for 6 months and say, yeah, I'm not a drinker anymore, I'm not an alcoholic anymore because I quit drinking. Holy shit. You will get people, and I've had this happen more than once, and I've invited one individual in particular onto the podcast to talk about it, and they won't do it, probably because their argument's crap. But I'm not an alcoholic anymore. Oh my God, once an alcoholic, you were always alcoholic. And you could be sitting on there thinking, well, if you go back to smoking, you're a smoker, you're always a smoker. No, I don't need that negative label, and it's negative to me. Some people wear it with pride, and that's fine. Again, to each their own. I'm talking about myself. And I think a lot of people also don't like that negative connotation that alcoholic comes with. So those are two things that have really, really gotten some kickback on X lately. And I'm enjoying the conversations. And that's what I really want. Yes, you have to say, I'll use the word instigating. You have to use things that are going to instigate some things to get good discussions going. Otherwise, it's just like, hooray to everybody that woke up sober today. If you didn't drink yesterday, give me a like. or repost. Those are all good. But I want discussion, man. I want, the more we discuss and the more we get these topics that are on the fringe of controversy, which it's really not, because at the end of the day, if it's controversial to you how I'm recovering, that's on you, not me. Let's see. Got a comment here that says people need something as an alternative if they don't use AA. We can't leave those people in the dark and tell them they are out of luck. There are many out there like that too. Absolutely. We cannot leave those people in the dark. There are people like me. And the biggest reason, and I hope you're still listening, even if you got irritated by what I've said so far, the biggest reason that I talk about this stuff is because if another me, was listening, or past me could hear me talk right now, the amount of hope that I would hear coming from my voice and like, oh my God, I don't have to believe in a God. I don't have to go to AA for the rest of my life. I just need to do certain things to get to a certain point. I don't know what that point is. That's what, when people ask, like, when did you know? I have no fucking clue when I knew that it was over. It just happened. It wasn't at the year anniversary. It wasn't at the 6 months anniversary. Just all of a sudden, life was more important than drinking every day. And that started even before the fucking relapses, the last few relapses that I had. Everything was still more important. It was just on those days, it wasn't. And I had to figure out, I had to find that freedom and that purpose in order to get over that hump, to keep going, to get to where I am now. Yeah. Wish I could have heard these messages years ago too. It's so important to, look, I'm not a guy that's like, tough love isn't a thing, but I'm not going to give tough love to people on the interwebs that I have no idea who the hell they are. I'm not going to pretend to know their story. I'm not going to put everybody into a black and white, like, you drank, if you're an alcoholic, then you have to do this, and this, and you have to behave this way, certain way. No, everybody is different. I don't care how hard-nosed AA that you are. There are no two people that work the program the same way. No two people work the steps the same amount of times a year. No two people have the same sponsor giving them the exact same responses. No two people have the same job, the same spouse. These things, well, I guess if you're Mormon, you could have the same spouse. But you know what I'm saying. They probably treat you different way than the other one. Anyway, all I'm saying is there is no one life that is the same, so no one way is going to make this work. And the more that we constrict people and try to force them and shoehorn them, how many people are we losing when we do that? How many people are we losing that just say, fuck this, I'm going back to the drug because it's easier, because fucking A it is. So that's where this message comes from. And I got one thing that I'm going to end on here, even though I haven't been talking that long, but there's one topic at the end that I'm going to bring up that I was just talking with Miley about, and it's really going to get under people's skin. So hang out, don't go away, because I made a connection today. Oh, fuck it, let's do it. I made a connection today, just in conversation, and that's why I love having conversations and discussions. So step one is that we are powerless over alcohol and our lives become unmanageable. Okay. I am not powerless over this inanimate object of alcohol. I can walk by it at the store with zero problem. There's no gravitational pull. There's no bottle with a mouth talking to me. It's not like Venom and can shoot shit out at me, or Spider-Man and pull me in. That bottle's an inanimate object, and its ass just sits on that shelf. As long as I don't take the power from within to reach over and grab it, pull out my wallet, pay for it, put it to my lips, and drink it. I have to supply the power for that to fucking happen. It has zero power. And to pretend like it does is not real. So then today when I was talking with Miley, it's like, okay. So the solution in the first 3 steps is to pretend that this inanimate object has all this power. And the only way to beat this power that this inanimate object has is to give it to another inanimate object so it can take it away. Now, before you blow a gasket, I'm not saying that whatever God or whatever higher power you believe in isn't real. It very well could be, but I haven't seen it demonstrated where I can talk to this thing, where I can have a conversation with this thing, where it's tangible. So it's another inanimate object until somebody can show me otherwise. So you're saying that this inanimate object has all the power. This bottle, this fifth the captain, right? That bottle is tangible, but the power that it has, it's not there. It's an inanimate object. It's not alive to control anything. And then the way to beat it is to give that power to something else that you also can't see, that also can't talk to you, that also doesn't give you, you can't see it. I thought that was really eye-opening between the two. It's like, I don't believe that alcohol has the power, and I don't believe that the power can come from outside. It can come from friends and encouragement. That's power, sure. You can see the encouragement. You can hear the words coming out of their mouth. You can feel the hug. You can hear the support. Sure, those things can help you. But at the end of the day, what do they say? It's a selfish program. So you have to find the power within, the purpose, the freedom. What freedom do you want? What purpose do you need? And once you find that freedom and purpose, that's when I feel things really turn on. My purpose now is to talk recovery. I feel like that's my purpose. I wish I could do this. I wish I could sit down and talk. I wish I had somebody giving me counter arguments right now, honestly, because that's the way that I can learn and get more comfortable in my mind and what I really think. So those are all things that are tangible. Like I can see the love and the happiness in Miley's eyes when she doesn't have to worry about if I'm passed out in some random school parking lot again. I can hear in her eyes, the hope and the optimism for our future. I can see it in her eyes. I can hear it in her voice. Let's see here. What about all the focus on alcohol, but then we hear that alcohol isn't the issue, it's our thinking. Yeah. Because, and that's the other thing, I'm going to break down the 12 steps here in another podcast soon, because they are all really negatively focused. And I understand what people say. Well, you have to break them down. You have to break it down in order to build you back up. Yeah, well, if the purpose is to do the steps over and over again for the rest of your life, you're just constantly breaking yourself down. I don't believe that all my thinking was crap. In fact, I wouldn't have gotten some of the jobs and some of the opportunities and the trainings that I got if my thinking was all crap. The only time my thinking was crap was when I was drunk. I wasn't thinking about stinking thinking. You know what I mean? They talk about stinking thinking, and I'm not trying to make an argument out of everything. But my thinking wasn't total crap, and I'm not a bad person. I've done some bad things, but I'm not a bad person. My thinking was, I hurt, I got trauma, I got things going on that I don't want to deal with. I think I'm going to take the quick fix and chug this here half pint or pint of vodka and not feel that hurt anymore, or not have to deal with these bad thoughts that are going on in my head. That was my thinking. That's my worst thinking. My thinking now has nothing to do with me relapsing. That would just be me just deciding to deal with the things I don't want to deal with, again, because I know that alcohol does the trick when it comes to self-soothing in a way. The problem is I want more soothing. I've talked about this before. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with us. Okay. We are dealing with the trauma, or we're dealing with something that we didn't have a better way of dealing with, whether that's because we didn't have a good family and friends around us. I had great family and friends. I just didn't know how to talk to them. All of a sudden I start this podcast and I start talking to all of you and telling you all my shit. It was a lot easier to tell my family all this shit. It's so much easier to tell these people these things because that's what I was missing. And now I don't need alcohol to do that for me anymore. You know how many times I would drink alcohol and then make phone calls to talk about things that were bothering me that I couldn't do when I was sober? No wonder I liked the shit so much, because it was getting conversations done. So no, I don't think it's wrong to want to soothe and to coping. That's a word that I couldn't think of when I was on my rant there. Alcohol was a coping mechanism, coping for all kinds of things. It started out as something that was fun, and it made things more enjoyable. And then it turned into, oh boy, I don't have to feel this right now if I go drink. When I was married, that's when it started. I just had my boys, and I love those boys. They were just over here to visit me all day yesterday, and I played catch and played some basketball, and I thought I was going to die because I'm fat and out of shape. I love those boys with all my heart, but I was in a marriage that, wasn't working for either one of us. And I didn't want to be that guy that left his kids and got out of a marriage. So I tried to make it work, and it just wouldn't work. It took me to get my second OWI in order to get out of that marriage. And I was coping with all of that by drinking a fifth of alcohol every night after I put everybody to bed. I did the dad thing and the husband thing. Whether I made dinner or helped clean up or both. And then I got the kids in the bath, got them cleaned up, got them in their jams, put them to bed, everybody asleep. I put my now ex-wife to bed, got her some water to drink throughout the night. I'm done. I'm miserable. I hate my job. I'm not happy. I'm not getting the things in this relationship that I need. I'm going to drink. And I felt better. And that's why I did it. I didn't do it because I'm a bad person. I didn't do it because I couldn't think through my problems. I knew what my problems were. I didn't know how to get out of it without, making some major changes. And it was just easier to do it that way. I coped with my situation with alcohol. And now I'm happy. I don't have to cope with alcohol the way that I used to. So no, absolutely, Lindsay, there's nothing wrong with us. And, the problem lies in our thinking. I know that we hear that a lot. Yeah, sure. Okay. But my thinking doesn't have to be forever bad. Like right now, my thinking's not bad. 99% of the time, my thinking is not bad. So I don't need to call somebody up and say, hey, I'm thinking about buying this computer desk, which I did this morning. Do you think this is a good idea? I don't need to do that. And I'm not going to do that because that's not the freedom that I was looking for when I got into recovery. The freedom that I was looking for when I got into recovery is to be free of thinking about alcohol. And that's what I'm achieving every single day. And that's what I'm getting closer to every single day, to think about it less and less and less. I mean, I just said to Miley this morning, I'm like, there's some things going on. I would love to go get a fifth of Captain, set it on the table and have a few drinks and then go play video games. But I know now, yeah. But I know now that what the repercussions can, and I can think that through, and I can say, I'm going to go have a Dr. Pepper. I'm going to go do a live. I'm going to talk about my shit. I'm going to talk about some things that are on my mind. And I feel like $1 million right now. And I mean, I should have really, Lindsay's right. I should have asked the group conscience before I bought that desk. It was under $20. But that $20 might have been a bad choice for me to spend right now. And only those people would know what's right for me. Or, I should put out there just as a disclaimer, I've talked about it before, but yeah, it's really a shame. I didn't have very good luck with the sponsor, just so we know. And I've shared what that is, and you feel free to reach out if you want to. The first sponsor was okay. And the second one was I thought was a brother, and then it was a complete disaster. I just, obviously the big book doesn't talk about sponsorship that comes on after the big book was written. I know a lot of people that have sponsors and they're like family, and that's awesome. So find a sponsor. If it works for you, that's great, but don't get distressed if you can't find one. You don't have to have one. Okay. And to tell people that they have to have one, to this person that's apparently is as fucked up as I am, who, I asked this question the other day. It's like, so if I have an important decision to make and I have to call my sponsor to ask him if I can make this decision, does he have to call his sponsor to ask him if he can be able to tell me what to do about the important decision that I have? Because that's kind of an important decision too. So like, when does it stop? Like when we get back to Bill W. or Ebby. Anyway. Yeah, I do my best, and don't make your own decisions. Lindsay says that in jest, but that's how I feel that it is kind of put out there, is don't make any decisions on your own. That's not freedom. That's not recovery. If your recovery is to call your sponsor X amount of times a day, if your recovery is to go to 7 meetings a week, if your recovery is to dive into the big book every single day and do big book studies or whatever, and, say the one-liners that AA say in all their responses, cool. I support you. As long as you don't tell me that that's what I need to do, as long as you're not out there telling other people that's what they have to do, because that's a lie, and you shouldn't do that. Shame, shame. So anyway, now that I've pissed off everybody, I really appreciate you guys listening. I had a handful of people checking it out, and I look forward to your feedback. Please reach out on X, Facebook, leave a comment on YouTube, or send me an email, especially if you're really disgusted by this. Send me an email at scott@thesoberheathen.com, or send me an email at thesoberheathen@yahoo.com. So send me an email. Let's talk about it, because look, I'm going to show you again. This is my first ever big book. This is my second big book. Okay. And I still go through both of these at work. I am not anti-AA, not even a little bit. I love the program. I think it has a lot to offer. I don't think I would be where I was at, or where I'm at right now, without AA in the beginning. So give it a shot. Go to a meeting. And if you don't like one, go to another one. Like, I do enjoy a good AA meeting. Like, I'm feeling like a speaker meeting or something heading to after this podcast is done. I am not anti-AA, but I am anti-asshole. So don't be a dick. If it's working for you, tell people how it's working for you. And if it's working so well and you can present it in a way, people are going to go to it anyway. But don't go out and, look, I'll end on this. MAT, medically assisted treatment, that's recovery, in my opinion. Harm reduction is recovery, in my opinion. Why? Because when people do those two things, their lives seem to get better. Not everybody, just like not everybody AA works for. But if you're taking meds to help you through your addiction and your life is getting constantly better, that's a win. That's recovery. I'm so happy for you. If you trade heroin or crack for edibles, you're eating some brownies, when you get out of work to relax and your life is getting continuously better, boom. That's a win. That's recovery in my book. So don't go after people that are recovering in their own way. It's their recovery. It's their freedom. It's their life. Give suggestions. Give advice. Do whatever the fuck you want. It sounds like I'm telling you what to do, and that's not what I want to do. Do whatever you want, but let's try to be positive, man. That's all I want. So let's see. Hold on. John said we should host a space on X, like a town hall, where the zealots can have their say and we can have ours. Let the people decide. Yeah, John, I have been trying some of these hard node guys out there that I'm not going to say their name because they're not willing to come on the podcast, but we know who some of them are. One in particular who has a really dark picture of themselves. It almost looks black. I have asked that dude to come on the podcast 100 fucking times, and it's just not going to happen because I'm not saying they're scared, but it just doesn't appear that's going to happen. So send them my way. If you have somebody that you think that would be interested to come in. XRP came on the podcast and we had a discussion. I don't know if it was good or bad or not. That you can decide that. But his name was Scott as well. So go check out that podcast. XRP is a guy that's on social media that blows people's timeline up with a bunch of links and stuff and regurgitated bullcrap. He had the testicular fortitude to come on, so maybe there's some out there. Yeah, it's an actual picture, man. It's if you click on it and it's not too bright in your room, you can actually see there's a face in the background. Yeah, Adam, it was 11:30 Eastern as usual, my friend. Hope you go back and listen to it. I'd love to hear your feedback. But yeah, let's do it. You know what? It's an open invite. The Sober Heathen has an open invite to anybody. John referred to them as zealots. I refer to them as gatekeepers. I don't want to have a fight. I don't want to get on and argue. I want to have a discussion on why we think the way that we do. And hopefully that discussion helps somebody out there that is struggling today thinking, what do I do? I've tried this and it's not working. I've tried this like 6 times and it's not working. Maybe we can say something in conversation that helps people understand. And maybe they'll go to the way of the gatekeeper and they'll go into hardcore AA where they have a sponsor that they talk to 6 times a day. They go to 7 meetings a week. They do the steps once a month. Great. If that's what helps them. So yeah, let's do it. Let's get them on here, man. I know that there's some people even listening right now that are AA people, and I don't think I've said anything too bad. I try to speak from my opinion and where I'm coming from the best that I can, so not to present AA in a bad way. But I've showed you the books. I've been to AA. I know it, and I know it has a lot of benefits. A lot of benefits. It really does. But when you get into people twisting things as they do, that's the same reason why I got a religion. People twist things, or they say things that aren't in their book, and things just get conflated. So if there's any more questions, I would love to field them now. Otherwise, I'm going to get out of here and enjoy my Sunday afternoon. Now that I got the dopamine hit, man, fuck alcohol, feeling pretty good at a podcast. Got a bunch of people listening and commenting in the comment section. Pretty damn good. Call those people out in their big book comes to life too. They have always been there. Joe and Charlie, yeah, I always enjoy listening to Joe and Charlie read the big book. Best part of the people and the worst part of the people. Yeah, John says, I love AA. The best part is the people, and the worst part is the people. And that's everything, right? But the reason why I talk out against it, like I said, is to give people options, not to deter them from either one. I just really, truly try to give them a different way to think about things, or to share how I think about things. And just by the feedback alone that I get on X and social media, it shows me that when I say we, the people that have been on the podcast and the people that I do lives with, Adam and Lindsay, we're doing something right, because there have been a ton of people that have given us feedback. They're like, thank you for saying that. Man, I needed to hear that today. And that's way more than the negative, like, how dare you? Weed eaters. Could be weed eaters, I mean, that might be a little different. I don't remember when Joe and Charlie's first started doing their things, but that weed eaters might take a different meaning today. I mean, they got a lot of candy and chocolates and brownies out there. You know what I'm saying? If you're picking up what I'm laying down, if you're mowing what I'm growing. But yeah, John and I think we get along. I think John's mentioned before too that we always don't agree on what we say, but we have a good relationship. I consider him a friend, and I value his opinion. Make sure to check out his podcast, the Sober Dad podcast. It's a really good one too. So, all right. Well, thank you for listening to the podcast again. Secondary podcast, non-recovery related, coming out soon. So make sure to keep your eyes peeled for that. It's going to be a fun one. My buddy that I'm going to be doing the podcast with, he's a hell of a guy. He's super funny, and it should be a really good time. But just don't drink today. So email, comments, DMs are always open if you need to chat. Thank you for listening. It means the world to me. Have a great Sunday. Take care.